to a barrel, and diesel was not as it is today. Then it was regulated. That's number one. So there is a subsidy for it. Secondly, the dollar was not what it is today. Just for example, like now, some few weeks or month ago, the diesel dropped with about nearly $200 or $300 to a ton, which is supposed to be translated down the market. That's from to we who are the retailers. So, but the thing is that because of this dollar forex differentials of these 2 weeks or so, we still could not feel the impact. It's supposed to be, because then we are selling diesel at the depot with about 750 or so, but now it has come down to about 715. But yet, if not because of this dollar differentials of 613 or so of 3 weeks ago, to about 670, at a point it was almost 700. So it was supposed to be down. The price is supposed to come down. So, but because of these dollar differentials that rose up within a sprinkle of a short time, that was why we cannot be able to feel that impact of the reduction of the international market pricing.
Okay. In fact, when we discuss very important topics like this, especially when that has to do with some level of financing and prices and what have you, what usually occurs is that we attribute it to the dollar differentials that you mentioned and all that. But I think it's important to note, because when my colleague went memory lane, to talk about what it used to be and what it is at present, and we're wondering, why it has so much, gone high to the point where it is now, affecting society very negatively, and of course the business circle also contributing to the level of inflation that we have in the country. So what has actually practically happened with respect to production of diesel? Some time ago, we were celebrating the fact that we have modular refineries, for instance, and that at last we learned that the modular refineries are focusing more on diesel. Yet we are lacking this diesel, and when they're available, they're exorbitant.
Yeah, quite okay. As they say, those modular refineries are there, but they are not near. How do I put it? As in, it's far from what we need. It's far from because we need refineries that can refine nothing less than maybe up to 300 to 400,000 barrels daily. And those modular refineries, even though I'm a marketer, I'm not like very up to date on that in that respect. But I doubt if I told we have combined modular refineries that can refine up to 50 or 100,000 barrels up till now. So the thing is that it is far from what we need. So we need better patronage to it, as in open it up to an extent that we need more investors to come and do these refineries, because we need it more. If at all the government cannot be able to revamp those refineries, because we have been hearing of that for quite a long time, that these refineries are going to be up and doing, but up till now nothing is there on ground. And the thing is that whenever you are dependent on import, such things are bound to happen. That's normal, because you cannot, even to transport the product out you incur expenses, then refine it and then still transport it back in. So these are all expenses that are built up to what we are buying now.
Well, Omar Jada, I cannot pretend to understand your explanation.
Thank you.
I cannot pretend to understand your explanations. I want to bring in Patrick Hilo, who is also in the trading segment of the oil and gas sector. Patrick, tell us what is happening in the diesel market. Because listening to Jada, he talks about supplies, he talks about pricing, and then benchmarks it against the parallel market rate. And each time we hear that one of the major sources of a drain on our foreign reserves is crude oil, it's the importation of refined petroleum products. And that you do through the formal channels rather than through the parallel market. So why are we having this benchmark against parallel market of 600 and something or 700 and something? In any case, just what is happening to crude oil prices, and then ultimately to the price of diesel that we are all now complaining about.
Yeah, thank you for having me. Price of diesel is a universal international problem. It has to do with a supply gap. the economy of Nigeria, number one, which has to do with the foreign exchange regime. Number two is the war going around in Ukraine. The major supplier of crude oil and petroleum products is Russia. A lot of countries leverage on Russia. A lot of traders leverage on Russia to have products. Sanctions have been imposed on them. They are having it very difficult to trade presently all over the world, i.e., because of this supply gap, the few people that are able to actually push products to the market are pricing very high. Nobody determines the price of oil. It is based on information. Nobody sits anywhere and says this is the price of ICE. ICE is International Commodity Exchange Pricing. Therefore, if there is a name, there is a war or an information, price will go up. And when it comes to Nigeria, it translates to the value of our dollar, which is very weak at the moment, and we pass it on to the customers. Unfortunately, there is nothing anybody can do for now until such a time that the supply gap situation is improved. There is nothing anybody can do. It's not only in Nigeria, it's all over the world.
Well, the perspective that you have too is understandable, but a nation like Nigeria, which is an oil-producing nation that has the crude in abundance, one would rather like to believe that there is a possibility that even though there is an international crisis in the diesel sector or diesel subsector, that Nigeria should not be hit, like other nations who do not have access to that natural resource. That is part of the issue that some Nigerians are looking at, believing that there's a possibility that if things are done well, if our refineries are functional to the full capacity, and if the modular refineries are also fully engaged, to ensure that these products are churned out, then we may be crying foul along with other nations who don't even have access to that resource. And that's why I want to bring in Moneme here. You are from the manufacturing sector, and you seem to be the worst hit because, of course, you don't have regular power supply. You have to rely almost 80 or more % on diesel to function as manufacturers. Let us know what the impact has been and how you and your group are sourcing this all-important diesel.
Thank you. For us in the pharmaceutical manufacturing sector, we are worse hit like you are highlighted. It interests you to know before now, there is the tariff we complain about for production is more of electricity pharmaceutical manufacturing. In times of crisis, like we had in time of COVID-19, the government, summoned the manufacturers. Very key to government was focused on food and medicines. How do we ensure consistency of production of this? Because they are life-saving commodities. So for us in the industry, essentially in the food, and then most importantly, pharmaceuticals, we are holding forth. I use this word. I always say that the manufacturers are pick choice in the country, because when you compare how much percentage you are putting in production because of energy costs, it doesn't make any sense. But the truth is that it's more like we are at the point of patriotic act. It's a survival act. So we are on the survival. We're not talking about profits. We are looking at how do we sustain the industry to continue to close the gap in the pharmaceutical sector, in the food sector, and other most important sectors. So we are looking at, because let me also make it in the pharmaceutical sector. According to World Bank, you said that most Nigerians will be pushed into poverty line. I saw the data saying our 95 million Nigerians be below poverty line. What that means is most Nigerians, if you transfer this cost to most Nigerians, they cannot afford those products. Let me also shock you. In the health sector, 70.5% of Nigeria pay out-of-pocket expenses compared to healthcare expenditure to access medicines. You and I know that you need to go to the pharmacy to buy your medicines. Health insurance coverage is not that much. So what that means is if we transfer these costs to patients, most people cannot afford medicines in Nigeria. So we're holding forth in this gap, not shutting down our facilities. And it also interests you to know that, pharmaceutical sector is a very highly regulated sector. It's more like a precision science, whereby most facilities you run the facilities 24 hours, 247. You're running the facility. Some facilities, when you shut them down, you cannot produce those products. It will take time for you to start again because these are production cycle that are already, put in place. And the regulators, you cannot take it when you shut down a system whereby for the product to be a top-notch quality, for you to maintain the stability, there's a certain level of temperature that you must maintain in your facility. So for you as a manufacturer in the pharmaceutical sector, you must make sure you maintain such a level of temperature and atmosphere, or else what you are shunning out is not going to meet the regulatory demands. So it is very, very germane that I think that the government, all well-meaning Nigerians, need to look for mid-time, solution to this problem because it's very key.
All right, thank you very much, Frank Monaman, for your contribution. Let's bring in now Senator Ita Enang. Senator Ita Enang, I know that on Good Morning Nigeria, some months ago, you had issued a dire warning about the crisis we're likely to face with regard to diesel supply and diesel price. And at that time, you didn't link it to the war taking place between Russia and Ukraine. But now we're having all kinds of explanations, just as we have heard this morning. Are we having a proper understanding of why we are having a diesel pricing crisis in Nigeria today?
Well, thank you for reminding at least the viewers that I had raised issues on this. And of course, Kingsley and Kirian, you know my views about artisanal refining and the fact that this thing is in existence. I am constantly in touch with these persons. Of course, it's not been long. I departed from the beat somehow. Are still refining petroleum products, petrol, diesel, and kerosene, and are still selling. And by my last investigation, there are drums they sell at 54,000 naira, which is 250 liters. Those if you buy it like in Bayelsa, the creeks of rivers, and some part of Delta. If you take it to Onitsha, those who buy it this point and take it to this areas, they sell it at 85, 78, and so on per drum. I'm going to these details to let you know that this country has capacity, and it is not this imported diesel that is taken at these creeks and gone to sell at these manufacturing points. So this is self-inflicted. It is self-inflicted, and for the third time I say it's self-inflicted, because I had suggested, and we've worked on in saying, look, formally engage with the artisanal refiners that are manufacturing, that are producing. I've also said permanently that in Nigeria, when we had the civil war, as early as the 70s, the entire Biafran enclave had no access to petroleum product. They were producing, refining, and using. The same thing is happening today. When you are challenged in any particular area, like you are challenged with diesel, petrol, and so on, we should employ our Amotekun strategy. when you have security challenge in the southwest, you say Amotekun. You go to the southeast, you say Bubagu. You have another one in Benue. You call it whatever name. So employ and apply your local strategy. Engage your local men. Give them local arms. These ones you don't even need to give them. I have said, and I keep saying, if you give them petrol, the crude they will take and refine. They will take, refine, and pay you. If you don't give them, they will take, refine, and pay to the other system. And they're taking, paying to the other system and refining. In fact, I was surprised when I got into this, I got into a conversation, and I discovered that even in the Babangida Abacha years, there were questions of loss of crude, stealing of crude. It was going on with the vessels taking them out, and then part of it also being taken for this local refining. But if we had ever needed these our local hands, it is now, because it is affecting our currency. When we were talking last, it was about 400 and something, and we were shouting to $1. Now it is 600, and I won't even mention the high-end price at exchange to $1. And no country does this to its currency. Nigerian currency, the dollar has become Naira has become a commodity, not just a means of exchange. People are now trading on it. And we have to. One of the things we need to do seriously, I know that we don't subsidize diesel, but we just have to go every length to remove subsidy in every sector of petroleum product. Finally, on this, I want to say that there is the program that the government is doing now, which is the mini grid and the solar powers. I will urge that the manufacturing sector should look more on this other sector, because the Federal Ministry of Power, the Rural Electrification Agency, the Rural Electrification Fund, and all other sectors are engaging with the international companies, and even the NASENI, National Agency for Science and Engineering Infrastructure. They are producing these panels. They are producing some locally. They are importing others and assembling. They are getting them everywhere, and it is almost everywhere. There are a lot of people who have shut down their petrol generator for the past 3, 4, 5 months, because they are now linked onto these inverter, solar power, and you don't even need it. So a lot of people, and if you go to the market today, the price of generators have stagnated, because there is something lower than low demand on generators, because people are now, even those who have them, are looking for how to sell them, because they are no more they are not much in use because of the high cost of diesel. And on the, if you go to, I'll conclude with this. Let Nigerians who are in Abuja go to Mabushi, the Federal Minister of Works and Power, as it were, the Federal Minister of Works and Housing. The entire of the 3 or 4 buildings are powered by the green energy, by solar. You know, they have these what they call, is it the home solution or the mini grid, powering the entirety of that. That also powers industries. It powers other things. It's deployed in area market and everywhere. So let Nigerians get off, not fixated on.
I want to take you back, to where you started. Really, you are a protagonist of artisanal mining. You want artisanal mining to be integrated in the nation's oil and gas production process or production system. Right, and I've been privileged, really, to meet with the young men who are involved in this refining. In your program, once upon a time in Abuja here, where I now came to understand the fact that, look, it is some kind of a complex arrangement, where certain individuals have mastered the art of this local production. But again, it's also believed that because of their method of refining, that the environment is endangered. It brings about environmental degradation and what have you. What actually are you looking for? Are you looking for a situation where they will be empowered in terms of funding for them to update the equipment that they use, or what? Or for them to have a kind of business relationship with the NNPC or the federal government and what have you? What kind of structure are you looking at? What is the possibility of this integration that you're talking about, so that they could be meaningful and perhaps pay their taxes, legally?
Thank you very much. In the engagement which we had at Sheraton, and the other one which we had at Nikon Luxury about a year later, we had agreed and we had taken a resolution that as a means of helping the economy and helping the environment, we should establish refinery parks in each state where you have a complex system, where NNPC will formally supply them with diesel. And when you produce diesel, produce petrol, produce kerosene, you hand over the other part for those who produce wax, engine oil, and the rest. That is a complex system. If you don't do that, then they will produce the few things that they have and then throw the rest on the environment. But it is not as bad as that, because I had said the last time I was on, one of the times I was on this program, that even those who buy bitumen, whom we give contract to tar roads, buy the byproduct. When these people have produced petrol, diesel, kerosene, they buy the other byproduct from them and use it in their road construction. So it is not lost. It is not all lost in the environment. Now there are all the other others too, who it is not these men only who destroy the environment. It is the military who, when they go to say they want to decommission or destroy, they now go set fire or push down those things on the environment. We should have an agreement with the military. The military should have a standard operating procedure amongst their men in the creeks, that when you find these people and you find it, take up, clear the system, cordon it off, let the material, the crude, be removed from the pan and then perhaps taken somewhere or preserved, and then you don't just pour it into the environment. If you pour, sometimes, in fact, I'll tell the truth, yes, what the military does, some of them do, is that before they go to destroy, they have an agreement with these people. And they go there, these people will remove the nitty-gritties of the sensitive parts of their connections, remove it and take it away, and move away before they come to destroy. I mean, I'm a Nigerian man, I'm big enough to die. Why do we keep deceiving this country and deceiving ourselves, deceiving our children, and pouring this country away? Now, the military should have standard operation procedure where they don't pour these things onto the environment in the name of destruction. And of course, if they come to take NTA, or the cameraman or the news media, they will go to a place which had been decommissioned and film. Do you think that those men would not have been there? You take them by surprise? No, something is wrong. And I discovered even in the Abuja years, something went wrong. Please, let me give something to, just 1 second again. I discovered that in the cost of manufacturing, that consumers are being punished. Because when you go to buy beverages, you will find a can written for 450 grams. When you open, it is half. Just because of the cost of production. Instead of saying we've raised the price, although they do, they just produce half and put it there. Instead of 450, you have 200 or 250 grams. So it is affecting. So everybody should try to adjust to the green energy and adjust to the fact that we need to use our local men.
Okay, Senator Itai, you raised a number of points. Thanks a lot. The last one about weights and measures. That's clearly a responsibility of the Ministry of Industry, Trade and Investment, because they have a unit or a department that deals with weights and measures. And we have all experienced it. I mean, Kira, I think we talked about it here earlier. The weight of bread, for instance, has reduced. Some of the loaves are much lighter. The prices have gone up. And some of these contents that we are also talking about, whether in terms of weight or in terms of liquid, you just find that it is just half of it, and then you are paying the full price. The biscuits have also reduced in number. I saw the other day a label. It said there's something brand new or something renewed or something. I said, let me buy one of these digestive varieties. I took it. There were only 3 inside. Crunchy, but I said to myself, this thing was at some point in the past, it was 5. 5 of those biscuits, it came down to 4. Now it is 3. It is even very tight inside the packet. But it's not a laughing matter because it's price gouging, and everyone is getting hurt for it. I want, if Patrick is still there, Patrick Ilo, can you just advise our viewers, what are the sources of diesel supply to us in Nigeria today? Because Jada was part of our conversation sometime in the past when Governor Wike was decommissioning the illegal refining operations in rivers, that there were reports of several tankers lined up to take up the products that were being refined by those artisanal refiners. And there were stories about round tripping and so on and so forth. It does, and some persons will say that this Ukraine-Russia war has just become a pretext for all that probably wasn't just right with us in the first instance. Well, how are we getting our diesel in the first instance? Are we relying on diesel importation 100% like we do for Jet A1 fuel?
Yeah, we are totally reliant on the importation of diesel in Nigeria.
That's not correct.
Because the refineries are not working. Even if refineries are working, petroleum products, the crude is priced in dollar. And if we are trying to say we are going to price in Naira, somebody is losing. It will be Nigerian state or people trading in crude. The most important thing is to firm up our exchange rates. The currency must improve. If the currency does improve in strength and in value, then it can actually have an effect locally on diesel supply. The very thing is that the country is sick, the currency is weak, and cost of doing business in Nigeria is very expensive. Haulage is very costly, spare parts are costly, drivers can do a trip from Lagos to Kano. You can pay 1 million on haulage. So it's the gridlock from the tank farms too is also a problem. Everything is in a chaos. There needs to be a total reorientation of the supply chain. At each step, the regulatory agencies are not even helping the matter. For you to get import permits to bring in petroleum products, you pay through your nose. You can pay as high as 250,000 naira to bat your vessel, and all the chain, the delay by the regulatory agencies also counts. Your vessel can be there for a week. You have to get approval to bat the vessel. All these things, bureaucratic bottlenecks in Nigeria, it's making things very, very difficult. Nigeria doing business is not really friendly, and it adds up to most of the problem we have, not only on diesel, on all products. Getting anything done from the ports down to the tank farm, the union, there is a lot of total chaos. There has to be something has to be done. Nigeria, we need to make it work. We got the capacity, and things can really work. It's the amount of money we spend doing government bureaucracy and doing a lot of things add up, not actually the cost of the diesel. But if you add all this up, we pass it to the consumers. That's the major issue in Nigeria. Diesel can get to people at affordable price if there is efficiency in the way we do things, right from our regulatory agencies, DPR, down to union, down to all facets of the economy. Then that's the only way. We are not efficient in doing business in Nigeria. The government system is not supporting anybody. Most of the people doing the business are not traders. They are government people. They don't feel the pain of people importing or doing the business. They are just regulatory people, and they do what they think should be done. The only thing is that they should have a human face and look at how business has to be done. People in the private sector should be put, and they should seek their advice so that prices can come down. It's getting too tough. And the cost of doing business, especially levies, then you have to pass it to consumers. Those are the problem. Thank you very much.
All right. We appreciate your contribution. He actually raised the inefficiency, in the supply chain of this product and other, bottlenecks that tend to also make it, practically very difficult, for the importers to get these products in, since we are relying almost 80% or more on the imported diesel. And Omar Babakano Jala, the Independent Marketers Association, is a very, crucial stakeholder in the entire process. And we would like to know some of the issue or challenges that you have, because if you're an independent marketer, it means that you are deeply involved in, if not in importation, but of course in the circulation of fuel across the nation. So what has been the itchy problems or challenges that your men experience in ensuring that this product even gets to the different parts of the country? Because one thing is not just that the cost is on the high side, but to have access to it is another problem. In some areas you don't find diesel. At a point, people are seen hunting for diesel from one filling station to the other. So what has been the challenge?
As you said, in our own part, we does not have that much problem because we are just marketers. As he said, diesel is more or less a deregulated product now. The only thing is that is the cost. The cost that we have been talking about affects us more or less more than anybody in the system, because we cannot be able to transport these products without diesel. And at a point, I can recall the last time we were here, we have to talk about the cost. That cost affects us more than virtually anybody. I don't know, maybe apart from the manufacturers. Because the thing is that in most cases, there is no any depot you go without getting diesel, since it's a deregulated product. You get it, but you just get it at premium. And as a marketer, we buy it at premium normally, maybe like now, and as at today, we buy it between 717 and 725 and put our transport maybe from Lagos to Abuja here around 37 naira or so. So roughly it comes here at 770 to 780. Then you put your own reasonable margin. That's why you can see it there. It was about 850 or 860 before now. And it has dropped down maybe to around 800. And if it is far down, maybe to the north, down north, maybe northeast and the rest, you put your transport of about 45 naira. Then you put on your reasonable margin. The thing is that, as you said, there is no much bottleneck to us as marketers because it's a deregulated product. You hardly get 2 or 3 depots without diesel, but you just take it at premium. You buy it at premium. As I told you, 717 to 725.
This is curious, Kilian. What Jada is telling us is that diesel is available.
Yes, at a premium.
Yeah, and that is to say that there is a markup on the price.
Yeah.
I said earlier that there's probably no depot you go to where you will not find diesel.
Yeah.
So, which means that we don't appear to have a supply crisis.
No.
What we have is a pricing issue.
That is it.
Okay. Now, I know that you are a marketer, but of course, if you don't have your goods to market, then you'll also be in crisis.
That's it.
Earlier, that's why I said I didn't understand your explanation. You were saying, look, the price of dollar, see the way it has gone up, 600 or something, XYZ. Yesterday, we had a conversation around how to firm up the Naira. It was the third in our series. Kieran and I were together last week when we started the conversation on how to stabilize the Naira. One of the major sources of forex outflows from Nigeria is fuel importation. Fuel importation. And the central bank would argue, and that is a reasonable argument to make, that the parallel market rate, the parallel market, isn't the official financial system for the country. And when you look at the I&E window, import and export window, it's about 400 and something. Parallel market, 600 or something, difference of over 200 naira. Are you in any way aware of where those who get diesel, where they get their forex from? Are they also going to the parallel market, or they are going through the I&E window?
Very well. 80% of those that gets product out of this country gets it from the parallel market. 80% of them. The thing is that you will open your Form M and it will take you maybe another 3 to 6 months. I don't know, because I'm not, I don't import, but I'm in the industry. I know what's obtainable. I know what's happening. It will take you 2 or 3 months. Sometimes you can even bring your product after 2 or 3 months before you are being reimbursed. I know those people that have Form M that has taken them over 6 months up till now, they couldn't get their reimbursement. They have to get it from the parallel market. That's why sometimes you see, normally the premium, if you are supposed to put maybe 2 naira because you got it from the parallel market, you have to add it up to something. So that's why it translates down to all these that you are seeing, the high cost that we are saying. So things like this, there are some things that are not said. That's why when distinguished, said he's all enough to die, even though I'm not all enough to die, but somebody, you can die anytime, and things like that, you have to like say it the way it is.
Yeah, you're not afraid of
It
that.
does,
None of us. I mean, none of us. None of us.
Yeah,
Are senior citizens.
It's
not a question of dying. It's just how we can fix ourselves and be sure that we get out of the trap. And the difficulty, we're talking about the manufacturing sector of the economy.
Yeah.
That's pharmaceuticals. We've not talked about, it mentioned, for instance, I mean, I think we had the point when we discussed this one day during the newspaper review. There are hospitals today that are running on generators 24/7.
Yeah.
Which surgery are you going to perform without your generators being on? And of course, if you are a patient on the bed in a theater room waiting for the surgeon, to open you up, you will also be ready to pay the cost, and it's going to be passed on. Yes.
All right, Moleme. You have raised some concerns, with respect to the high cost of diesel and how it's impacting negatively on production, especially when it has to do with pharmaceuticals, food items, and what have you. And is the manufacturers are the manufacturers thinking in the direction of devising, a solution or an alternative to this? Are they also going to be like the aviation operators who are saying, look, give us license for us to import aviation or aviation fuel and all that? What are the strategies that you have presently, to see how you can mitigate the effect of this cost? I know that, of course, as Kinkley pointed out, that look, in some, or rather, Senator Tayan pointed out that, of course, in some beverages, we say 250, and you find 150 or 100 as the case may be, which doesn't go well. How are we sure that the manufacturers are not also trying to, cash in on the present situation to cheat?
First of all, the distinguished made mention that obviously that he had that kind of experience where you have to go and buy something and it's not that volume. As a matter of fact, I'll speak for my own industry. You see, the pharmaceutical manufacturing sector is a very highly regulated environment. The NAFDAC team, they know where your office is, they know where your facility is. So if you go that low, the consequences, they're enormous. And I can tell you, if such thing happens, of course, in every there are people like, you have counterfeiter people that go for bringing counterfeiting products, substandard products for spy. It happens globally, but then you can't use that and say that the industry, that most industry people, practitioners are going that way. I can tell you that, like paracetamol, if it's not 500 milligram, it's no more 500 milligram. You can't stop your headache. So you must ensure that it meets that standard. Now, going to the alternate mix, you made mention about the industry can go to use alternative energy source. I think the government should pay more attention to our electricity. How can we get it running? This can be done. It's not rocket. Why do we make it like a rocket science? In 21st century, this can be done. We need to raise the bar. And I can also tell you that my industry, we're also looking at the alternate mix of source of energy. I know we are partnering with Nigerian Energy Support Group, I think, in energy efficiency. In most times, GIZ, the Manufacturer Association of Nigeria, we partner with them to see how can we even, ensure energy efficiency in our facilities. So the alternate mix, some member companies are adopting it. And then the other source of energy, which is gas. Some member companies are, adopting that model. But we all know that it's very, very expensive project. But we're going that route. But then I think that the government, all hands must be on deck to solve this problem. It's not just about the manufacturing sector. And a lot has to do with the government be on the driver's seat. In access to finance, very key. And then come up with a strategy. I think there should be an emergency kind of summit. Gather men together. Men, not just kind of you gather men, because we are so used to talk show, gathering people, taking the box. I'm looking at bring men in the field, bring government, and run with whatever that will come out of such.
What about the women?
Men and women.
Thanks. Thank you, Frank. Back to Senator Itayanang. Senator Itayanang, again, how do we get out of this? Your position on artisanal refining is clear, but I remember the other day when you were here, that's some months back now, Dr. Tim Okon had a counter position to say, look, there are hazards to the environment from artisanal refining. And more importantly, the oil firms that are sinking their costs into oil exploration and production cannot continue to afford the losses arising from crude oil theft. Crude oil being the raw material used by the artisanal refiners, and so on and so forth. And therefore, we shouldn't tolerate them. But you are saying, look, the necessity of our times should make that an item to consider, to say, look, where do you balance it out? I know that you talked about two things. Let them buy the crude officially, or what is happening now will continue, again, which is lawlessness. And no society can thrive on lawlessness. But we always heard that the modular refineries were going to be a game changer. That modular refineries, by their nature, are not as sophisticated, if you may, or as complex as a refinery complex. I didn't want to use it. I want to get a synonym for complex. To say that when you have a refinery, that's why it's called a complex. It has a number of units added to it, but a modular refinery is largely basic. Yeah. And of course, you can always elaborate on the units and so on and so forth. But after some again, we'll look for the right word. Noise comes readily. After a lot of noise about modular refineries, everything has gone quiet. So what do we know about the operation of the modular refineries in the Niger Delta? I know that you had a lot of tours around the Niger Delta.
Yeah.
What can be done? Because modular refineries come under regulation, unlike the artisanal refiners who are not under regulation. What is it that the modular refiners are able to do now, and perhaps do differently, and help also in terms of cost, so that all this 800 naira a liter that we are getting doesn't come up? Because by the time you evaluate the cost, I'm sure that jobs are already being lost on account of businesses reducing their work hours and they're not being able to operate at full capacity. Senator.
Thank you very much. That's complex too. For modular refineries, the much I know is that there is one in Imo State. I think there's another one in Bayelsa State. There was one that was under construction, almost ready in Edo State, and so on. And I think there's one or two that are being partnered by the local content monitoring board. I've engaged with the executive secretary of local content, Simbi, and the fund is providing a lot to assist. But I don't think that they can provide even up to 10% of what the country needs in terms of diesel. They can't. And so you've also talked about Dr. Timo Kohn when he said, look, we can't afford to go that route. Yes, we couldn't afford to go that route, but we are in a war situation. We are in a situation where if you don't go that route, you keep losing. And I want to say that if you talk of crude oil theft, I said earlier that even I engaged with certain men some days ago. I think one of them was a former military governor of Plateau State or Benue Plateau then, in the Abacha years, in the Babangida years. And he still said, look, Babangida and Abacha set up a committee on how to arrest energy loss, that is crude oil theft, as old as it is then. So if you talk of leakages and theft, it is these people don't even take up to 5 or 7%. Those who really do the stealing are those who have the big vessels and come and stay on the high sea, punch over the crude oil pipeline passing through the ocean, the waters, and then block and then load the vessels and go away. That's number one. Number two, there is the under declaration by NNPC, by the system. In fact, I'll mention their name, NNPC. Nothing you go do me. There are those who do. They come and say they load 1 million liters. They load 1 million liters and then declare 200,000. 800,000 is lost. Not lost, some other person takes it. But it is declared that that vessel loads this and takes away. So we have to go back to the basics of this. You don't pursue these men as if they are the person taking or stealing. They're even helping you because they are providing for the economy. They are telling you, and of course, I've always said that these men are highly trained. He's been with us in this. Ahmadu Bello University, where they have the modular refineries, has been with us. They provide these technology for them. And we also said, look, the Petroleum Training Institute, Warri, are the people who fabricate all the things that they use and they buy. So we have to go back to the basics and then refine the economy. Now we've talked about loss of the loss of revenue, the loss of the dollar or something. I want the central bank to be more careful with the persons they give the dollars to, because this dollar they give for importation do not go for the importation. They end up at the black market.
All right.
Because I'm concluding, sir. I'll conclude. They end up at the black market and then it is sold again. Let them trade this product, this money, to how many vessels left the port of other countries, even at this time of war, and arrived? These people are just using our naira to buy the product from the local artisanal refiners and sell to this country as if it were important.
All right, it's entertaining. Thank you. We're running out of time, really. I think one thing to take away, technology is the greatest gift God gave to mankind. After life. That's according to one scientist. That because it is mobile, anybody can learn it.
Yeah.
I have met those young men who are into artisanal mining. Some read history, some read social sciences, but they are deeply involved and they have the technology. They have the technology. The complexity of it does not matter to them because they have the answers to that. And as a matter of fact, the quality of what they produce, they will show you 2-3 qualities, different category of qualities that they have, and what have you. Well, but the problem is how are they going to be integrated into the mainstream of oil production?
Is there an end in sight to this current high cost of diesel?
That's another problem. Okay, gentlemen, we thank you for coming. Taking some of us.
I know, we can't reopen that. But
Senator Ita Enang, thank you for being here.
Thank you very much.
As always, hope to see you again next time. Frank Moneme, Executive Secretary, Pharmaceutical Manufacturers Group. Of course, you're also part of MAN. It's been wonderful having you this morning. And via Zoom, we had Patrick Morakinyo, ILO, Managing Director and Chief Executive of Petrocam Trading Nigeria Limited. Thank you also for sharing your thoughts with us on the program. Alhaji Omar Babakano Jada, National Secretary of Independent Petroleum Marketers Association of Nigeria. It's been a pleasure.
Thank you very much.
All right, let's take a break. When we come back, we'll, of course, we'll be focusing on the next item for conversation. That's the 10th anniversary of Jai's Bank. Stay with us.
The ever-busy ancient city of Onitsha is a commercial hub with millions of commuters seamlessly linking other states daily for business, leisure, and other purposes. To upscale its road network, the construction of a 1.6-kilometer-long second Niger bridge, including a 10.3-kilometer highway furnished with other infrastructure, has been in motion by the federal government. This project will ease congestion on the existing 56-year-old Onitsha Bridge and boost the economic capacity of the state as it easily connects to other parts of the country. The completion of the world-class second Niger Bridge Onitsha will be one of the many proud moments of the state, its people, Nigerians, and foreign investors. Onitsha, which hosts the largest market in Africa, is geared up to boast of an impressive road network. Once again, these moments are made alive by the federal government, and it is deserving of all the applause.
Every day in our country, senior citizens are discriminated against, disparaged, and treated with disdain by those who ought to respect them. We are all complicit in the way we have treated the elderly members of our society as institutions, families, or members of a shared society. Every time senior citizens get offered less than they deserve for the work they do because they are old, poor, and desperate, we are failing them. Senior citizen loses a child, and wow, they must be responsible for their death. Every time a senior citizen gets labeled a witch, is called mad, and shooed out of the way because they have no memory of where they were headed and look unkempt, we are failing them. We say, abeg, it all old, make it do die, make everybody for rest. To ailing parents, uncles and aunts. That's discrimination. That is neglect. When you see an old woman getting beat up and being accused of witchcraft, do not turn the other way. Stop and teach people that white hairs, wrinkles, and hunchbacks are no evidence of witchcraft. Aging comes with a memory decline. Sometimes it's not out of place to have elderly people lose their way, forget details of their lives, and how to properly take care of themselves. When they get to this stage, they deserve your empathy, not scorn. Our ailing fathers, mothers, aunties, and uncles are deserving of quality healthcare and peaceful transition. Make their last moments memorable. Senior citizens have paid their dues. They deserve your care. Stop all forms of discrimination against them today.
The counsel of our fathers.
I believe we have fought one civil war too many in this country. So those who experience it run away from it.
Nigerian youths
Let's build our nation together.
As the 2023 elections draw near, remember, evil prospers when good men and women only wish for peace, but never take a step to make peaceful elections happen. Are you a father? Are you a mother? What are you saying to your children as elections approach? Have you warned them not to let themselves be used to cause violence? Have you explained to them what the consequences of electoral violence might be? Do your part to make peaceful elections happen. Talk to your children. Protect them from unscrupulous politicians who want to put them in harm's way, while their own children are comfortable at home, within and outside the country. Let's join hands to make 2023 elections peaceful. This message is from the National Orientation Agency, NOAA.
You're watching Good Morning Nigeria live on the network service of the Nigerian Television Authority. We are onto our second conversation this morning. And Jaiz Bank PLC is Nigeria's pioneer non-interest bank. And the bank's balance sheet has grown from around 12 billion naira in 2012 to nearly 62 billion naira in 2022, with, of course, asset financing of over 30 billion naira.
Yes, and Jaiz Bank has been in business for a decade and seeks to deepen its alternative model of financing, and that's Islamic banking. The bank is the first Islamic bank in the world to break even within the first 3 years in operation, and has won notable international and local accolades, among which are the Most Improved Islamic Banking Awards in 2020 and 2021, respectively, and from the Global Islamic Finance Awards, GIFA.
Well, joining us in the studios now to talk more about the 10th anniversary of the bank is the Managing Director and CEO of Jaiz Bank, Hassan Usman. We're glad to have you on Good Morning Nigeria.
Thank you for having me. Good morning, Nigeria.
10 years down the road, how's it been for Jaiz?
Well, 10 years has been very eventful for the bank, and we thank the Almighty God for all the success we have recorded. We thank Nigerians for accepting this model of financing, which is further diversifying the economy, providing financial inclusion. It is a system that is based on partnering, sharing risk, and it's neutral to what faith you profess, because it's the contracts and the interactions is neutral. Anybody, whether Muslim or non-Muslim, Christian, a tribe is not the basis. It's a business. As if when you go into the market, what you do is you want to buy things. You don't ask who is selling. You just look for what you want to buy, and the price is right, the quality is good, and you buy. So in 10 years, we have been able to prove that the concept is workable. It is something that can make a lot of difference to financial inclusion, especially for those who would otherwise try to avoid interest, with all the issues around interest and lending. It is a system that thrives in sharing risk and return, partnering with your customers and counterparties, so that you can generate returns and share the risk of the business. Within these 10 years, we've grown from a 3-branch bank to over 45 branches nationwide. Our balance sheet, as you have stated, has grown from just 12 billion to over 300, not 30 billion, 300 billion. Yes, 300 billion. Also, our financing has grown from zero to over 200 billion. Our deposits have grown to over 200 billion. We have been able to, within this period, to finance corporations, more than 4,000 corporations, more than 5,000 SMEs. Our financing to the private sector, the real economy, and especially to SME, is over 60 billion. our support to agriculture within this period, over 75 billion. So though a very humble beginning, our impact to especially those at the bottom of the pyramid has been great. For example, we have been able to include rural women on a pilot basis, financing them on equity basis, over 6,000 women, providing them with seed capital to do their business. And this experiment has proved to be very productive. The level of default has been quite manageable, and the impact in particular in terms of changing the life of these rural women and ensuring that they also send their children to school, because women in the rural areas are major contributor to how the family is managed, and especially how children go to school. So all of these impacts we believe can even be more. We think that given an economy that is growing with all the challenges, we could even do better looking the next 10 years ahead.
All right. Your bank has been in operation for 10 years now, and it has won notable international and local accolades, right? What would have been their basis for the judgment? What are the critical areas that they evaluated in the operation of the bank that made you to win all those accolades? Are there some specifics that the areas that you did very well that perhaps the conventional banking system has not been able to attain?
Well, in our segment, world over, we have been considered as one of the most improved. Our balance sheet has been growing at more than 20% per annum. Our profitability over the last 5 years has been growing more than 35%. As I mentioned, year on year, our contribution to the economy and to government corpus has also been significant. So those are some of the criteria that have been taken into consideration, and comparing us with other banks of similar persuasion, that similar type of business, that's the non-interest banking globally, and that is how we came as the most improved year on year for the last 2 years.
Is it a global bank or just a Nigerian bank?
It's a Nigerian bank, but in the context of Islamic finance or non-interest banking, is compared to other similar institutions across the globe.
Tell our viewers, how does Islamic banking or non-interest banking work?
Well, a non-interest bank or an Islamic bank is like a trading house. Basically, you come to the bank. Typically, those who are used to conventional banking, they come and ask for a loan. And we ask, what do you need this money for? So the person said, I want to buy a machinery to manufacture. So we buy the machinery and we lease. So we don't give our counterparties cash. We rarely do that, except when we are actually partners that is investing in their business as equity holders. Otherwise, in the 70% or 80% of the financing we do, we sell, we lease. These are the common contracts that we have. So financing, which is deferring the payment, is the secondary aspect. The primary way that we provide financing is to sell what you are looking for, or we lease. So in our own business, it's rare for somebody to collect the money and misuse, or to get into trouble because he has taken an overdraft and then misallocates it. Whatever you require, we will be able to buy. So the use of the funding that you are looking for is certain, is known, and we can see that we are contributing to the real economy, because whatever you are looking for, someone has to manufacture it or someone has to produce it. If it is labor type of services, you say, for example, you want to go for a surgery, so we hire the doctor's hours, we pay for the doctor, and then he perform the operations. So we don't allow customers to handle the cash directly. We provide what they will use cash to buy. So we provide those services on credit basis.
I'm just wondering.
How do you get to? Sorry, how do you get your money back? I mean, you buy the machinery, lease it to the customer, and the customer deploys this machinery
and
in the production, and he'll be paying to you either on monthly basis or weekly basis, as case maybe.
Exactly.
So from there you make your money.
Yes.
Now, after that transaction, would the bank have grown in terms of making any gains from that process?
Yes. So when we buy, say you need a house, we buy the house, say 10 million naira, and then we lease to you on a rate, say 15%, 18% rental that you will pay. And then you will also be buying the house. So any installment that we agree that you will pay, a portion of it is to buy the house gradually, like owner-occupier, and then a portion of it will be to pay for the rent, which is our profit for investing in the house.
Okay, obviously you're involved in leasing, you are involved in mortgage, you are involved in other aspects. Is it possible for you to cite any of the postal companies that you have done business with and therefore is thriving? Because the aspect of machinery leasing or machinery purchase is particularly critical for the manufacturing subsector of the economy. So what are the postal institutions that they say, look, these guys came to us and this is what we did, and this is the knock-on effect?
What usually happens is that the manufacturer who is more enlightened in his business knows the best type of machine. So the bank does not just go and buy any machine. We do this purchase with you as the manufacturer. So you identify the equipment, we do our investigation around the quality and around the reputation of the company. When we are satisfied, then we order and buy. We work together with the manufacturer, we order, buy, and then installation is made. The customer is retained as our agent to work with us to ensure that he gets this machinery and he gets the installation the way he would want it, so there will not be any complaint. So we don't keep just one manufacturer. We encourage competition around our vendors. We don't force a customer to take any product from any particular vendor. The customer has a say in what type of product.
But the firm has to maintain an account with your institution. That's to say, if I'm a manufacturer, for instance, and you have financed some new equipment for my production lines, to be sure that the returns do get in and are not frittered away elsewhere, I have to maintain an account with you. Is that correct?
Yes, the person who is the beneficiary of the machinery, not necessarily the manufacturer of the machinery. Okay. The manufacturer of machinery may be in China, maybe in the US. They don't have to maintain an account with us. But we must do our investigation to ensure that that machinery, because we are the one buying. The difference between us and conventional is that the conventional gives loan of money. We are responsible for the asset. So this is an added risk we are taking and a benefit to the customer. The customer is assured that what we buy and give him has gone through a process. It's not just, it gives some confidence to the customer rather than him just taking cash and then buying something that may turn out to be suboptimal.
Okay, now, do you offer fixed deposit services? A situation where someone could just deposit some amount of money in your bank, and after some months, based on agreed, agreement with the customer, he gets some money on monthly basis for depositing in your bank. And yes. Another aspect is whether do you support export business now that Nigerians are clamoring for, non-oil export, and many Nigerians are involved in the export of, for instance, food items and other processed commodities. Is your bank supporting export in any way?
Yes. Every activity under the sun, so long as the product is not harmful to the society, we partake. Our export desk is very active. We have customers exporting cocoa, sesame seed. We have customers that we support processing skin, hide and skin to process, add value and export it to Europe. So we have a growing export business that is going to be more active in ensuring that we work with customers to add value to what they are exporting, i.e. to get the necessary machinery that will process rather than just exporting primary products.
What, in your opinion, have been the most challenging aspect of Islamic banking operation in Nigeria in a decade?
Well, within the decade, the beginning is the question of awareness and a lack of understanding of the fact that this is just another form of financing, which is neutral to individual differences. That was a problem, but this is gradually giving way, because as people come of different persuasion and they test the product, they see the difference, they see how we care about our customers' success, because if they don't succeed, we fail. So that has started to give way to the misunderstanding around the product itself. But again, continuous awareness is a challenge. At the beginning, also we had issues with financial infrastructure, which is necessary for any financial system. You needed to have complementary facilities like money market products that the system provides for conventional, which was not there until about 5-6 years after we started. Then we had the first sovereign school, which made some difference to the operations of non-interest banking in Nigeria, because it provided the base product upon which other corporations can also build or make as a reference point. It defined the yield that is required. So some of these challenges have started to give way, and we can see that there is a lot of promise for this type of.
All right, and I'm sure anybody can open an account with the Jaiz Bank, whether you are a Muslim or non-Muslim and what have you. And I'm sure you are doing business with people from all parts of the country.
Yes, that's true. Right. The business, like I said, is neutral. Like going to the market, everybody goes to the market and people buy from different type of persons. So when you come to the bank, either as a prospective employee or a customer, we don't ask about your
religion. Okay. Yes. All right. Managing Director, Jaiz Bank, Hassan Usman, I'd like to thank you for being here today. 10th anniversary. We wish you many more years of success in the non-interest banking subsector. Thank you for coming to our program.
Thank you for having me.
All right.
It's Good Morning Nigeria, and we're just about having time now to say our goodbyes for today. Thank you for being with us. Join us again tomorrow, same time, 7 in the morning. I'm Kingsley Osadolo.
And I'm Kirin Umaya. See you.
the day.